Hey kids, it's Old Man Shouting at Clouds, and now with others too. Chatting about the CFL is what they're going to do. Some have no contacts and others have no clues. Everyone will tell us all their quirky football views. Hear what Old Man and others know. It's the CFL Outsiders Show.
Hey, GT. What are we going to do this week?
Same thing we do every week, old man. Take over the CFL.
Hey, kids. Welcome back to another episode of the CFL Outsiders. I remain, as always, your 100% unbiased, completely impartial, and slightly anticipatory host, Old Man Shouting at Clouds. Joining me this week is the usual panel. We've got MJ.
Hey everyone, hope you're enjoying World Cup football and CFL football as much as I have been.
And back from the wilderness after a week back home, hopefully less sleep deprived, GT.
Hey everyone, yep, back and ready to go. Let's give it another one. Here we are. It's Tuesday night.
All right, see what we can do with this. We may come across a little bit punchy. We've had a bit of technical problems to start, so this is our second attempt. But I will say I am slightly anticipatory because I've got Touchdown Kelowna coming up. The first of the two games here in Kelowna. I get to go see a full bona fide CFL football game without traveling 3.5, 4 hours, and I'm really looking forward to it. If any of you folks are coming in town for the game, if you see me there, please wave, say hi, give me a nudge, whatever. I'd love a chance to talk to you. I'll be in the west end zone and wearing some sort of rider gear. They're saying it could rain, so it could be a jersey, but it could also be 35, so it could be a tank top. We'll see about that.
I just wanted to give you a shout out for the little bit that you put out earlier on YouTube about Kelowna and all the how to get around and how to park and where to eat and everything else. It was really well done, and I'm sure the fans out there appreciate it. And yeah, lots of great information there for everyone. If you haven't seen it already, go check it out on YouTube. Old Man giving you how to get around Kelowna for the weekend and best places to go. So it was great.
Wow, thanks, GT. Complimentary words, and normally you don't bring me anything but down. Yes.
Very nice.
Yes, if you do look up the video on YouTube, it's just a short, like 2-minute, and you will find in the description, I put in the link for the website that's got all the information about parking and shuttling, because do be aware of that. There is no parking at the Apple Bowl, and anything anywhere close, you have to pre-book ahead of the event. But anyway, we got other stuff to talk about. We've got, first of all, a couple of comments out of YouTube. We had Danielle Robert 13235 came in before the Riders Calgary game, I got to say. So he was predicting, not just talking about it, but he said, in response to what we were talking about last week, he said basically that Saskatchewan didn't have Emilus or Baker versus Calgary last year. It will definitely help. And yeah, it did. We're going to talk about that. And then we had somebody coming after actually catching our lyrical eloquence, going for identifying some of our lyrics. And so this was Danielle Robert. Oh, sorry, I got the first one wrong. I attributed it to Daniel. Its first one was Nick McConnell. Daniel said, rock lyrics rolls with the punches by Bryan Adams, and 5 dressed up as a 9 should be 3 dressed up as a 9 by Trooper. And then he goes on to say that GT sounds like an old rocker. Danielle Langlois, go Als, go. So mine, yes, you corrected me. It should have been 3 dressed up as 9 by Trooper. So thank you for that. And you got me. What about you, GT? Did he get you, or was it something from Bryan?
No, he didn't actually. It wasn't Bryan Adams, and if I did quote that line from Rolls with the Punches, that it was accidental, because that wasn't the quote I had intended to use. Mine was, if you remember correctly, in the preamble to last week's show, I said, again, it's Tuesday night and I'm all revved up with no place to go, which of course is the classic song title and line from the original I'm Bad Out of Hell by Meatloaf. So yeah, that was mine that I used last week. And I do want to just say to the challenges out there this week that if MJ is not able to get this week's he's got to turn that jersey back in.
I find this so stressful. This whole segment is so stressful for me.
Yeah, it's all fun. It's all fun. So I'm guessing you didn't sneak anything in last weekend.
It gives me so much anxiety. One day it's going to happen, though. One day.
And
Watch
neither of us will get yours. Trust me.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah. The crowd will go wild. Anyway, that's our interaction this week from there was some more, but those were the ones that I wanted to highlight a little bit. And thank you for the folks that did comment. Please, others, play the game. See if you can get what's in, or just tell us what you think. And please remember, subscribe. Definitely helps. And if you haven't done it yet, A, you don't miss the stuff, and B, it helps us. I just heard a yelp. You may have to excuse me tonight, by the way, if I get interrupted. The goddess is cruising to Alaska at the moment, so our puppy may feel left out with me doing this for 2 hours. Anyway, hopefully that won't interrupt too much. Jumping ahead with stuff, you were going to mention something about the folks over at Rouge, White, and Blue, GT.
Yeah, I just wanted to talk about this briefly in that, as you guys, I think, are all aware, when I was overseas, I had the great opportunity to meet with Oz Davis and one of the co-hosts of Rouge, White, and Blue, along with Joe Pritchard. And it's funny because, the three of us, we've been at this is our second year in, and we've never actually met each other. We've been talking about football in three separate places. Well, they've been doing it for over 10 years. And again, had never actually met each other. So by the time when I actually met Oz, I met him before Joe did. Which I thought was pretty funny. But since then, I've learned that, unfortunately, Joe has decided that after more than 10 years of podcasting, that he's just decided that he's a little worn out, so he's called it a day. And unfortunately, they're not going to be podcasting anymore as Rouge, White, and Blue. And it takes me back to when I first started listening to podcasts, not that long ago. It was only 6-7 years ago, I think, when I finally figured out how to listen to them on my phone. There was a bunch of people out there then that the initial guys that I started listening to. One of them was Rouge, White, and Blue. Of course, Two and Out in the previous iteration before Sheldon joined the team. And it was lots of fun, of course. There was also the unofficial Tokyo's unofficial CFL podcast with Scotty and that was fantastic. I love those guys, and they're no longer on the air. And then along came the Mark cast during with Reed Johnson during COVID, and he podcasted for about 5 years, and then he had basically worn out himself as well. So it just makes me want to say to all the podcasters that have come and gone, salute. We wish you well. Joe, Oz, all the best in whatever you're going to get through. And as I said to them, if we ever need a co-host, can we reach out? They both said absolutely. So yeah, they might yet show up. So there you go.
Okay, thank you for that. Yeah, Joe and Oz were some of the first ones I listened to as well, and I loved the American take that they brought to the CFL, and big fans of the CFL, even though they are Americans. So sorry to hear we won't have you back this year, guys, but thank you for the information and education you've given us all along, and I'll do my salute with Mike, because I still have possibly editing or something to do after the show. Anyway, so much for the tribute there to, a lot of great people that have been doing this for a long time, and hopefully we can do half as good a job that they've done. But we also had big news this week. Today, about 4 hours ago. And I've been saying, not on here, but with some folks I know, especially after the last Ottawa game, that I thought the first quarterback that got injured, there'd be a sudden trade for Drew Brown out of Ottawa, who didn't seem to be needed so much anymore. Apparently it didn't take an injury. MJ, you brought this up. Why don't you tell us?
Well, so earlier today, there's news that Max Duggan got cut, and they signed some person I don't know. And I actually don't even remember his name right now because so much else happened. And then later, all of a sudden it got announced that they traded Drew Brown to the Bombers in exchange for draft picks. I was like, Why does Winnipeg need Drew Brown? Interesting that they would entertain that.
Well, because we need a little controversy because it doesn't feel so empty without me.
Yeah,
So
right?
that's why.
And then it came out. Well, two more things came out. One, that they signed McLeod Bethel Thompson,
That's
which,
the
as I told
controversy.
you guys a couple of weeks ago,
Yeah.
I bet you Ryan's on the phone to him, and he
Yeah.
was. Jeremiah Mazzilli remains unsigned. Anyway, McLeod's back in Ottawa with Ryan. And then there's a rumor, unsubstantiated at this time, but that Drew asked for a trade.
Yeah, I can see that the way that things have been going with him. Although it's interesting that Winnipeg with Zach and Elgersma there,
And Perkins.
that they were, unless they're just looking for his experience in case Zach goes down and, well, Elgersma still learns, but I don't know. And by the way, the fellow they signed was Nicholas Vatio, perhaps Battiato, someone who, from what I saw in the release, did not have sparkling numbers in college or anything, but apparently he's the longest standing member on their negotiation list, whatever that means.
So they have three backup quarterbacks.
Which is weird because it's not. That means if he's the longest guy on their list, that means he's not a current whatever. He's not
a guy. Yeah.
He's not the guy because he was there from the previous regime, right? It's not like somebody that really I don't know. It's just weird. It's just weird.
Well, I thought that at first, but then I thought maybe not. Maybe when Dinwiddie came in, he just tore up the whole old list, and this was the first guy he put on it.
Yeah, could be. It doesn't mean it's been forever. It just means it's been, since Dinwiddie, maybe.
Yeah, exactly. But interesting news. I don't know that it'll change a whole lot. I believe that they gave up a first-round pick next year for him, and they traded second-round picks or something like that. I don't know.
It's about average, a deal in picks wise that you get for quarterbacks in the league, American quarterbacks particularly. So I'm not that surprised on the actual deal itself. I'm surprised that the deal was done, and to Winnipeg of all places. But I'm not surprised on the level of picks back and forth. If it had been much more than that, I would have said somebody got robbed. But in this case, it seems to be consistent with what quarterbacks get traded for. A first-round pick and maybe a second, and that's about it. And I think they were not even in the same year, right? There was one, I think it was a first-rounder next year, and then it was the following year that the second-rounders got exchanged or something like that.
Yeah, conditional one or something like that. But in some ways, it might even have been overpriced, because if I remember right, that's basically the deal that Calgary did to get VA. And, well, Drew's a good quarterback. He's not VA yet.
Yeah. Well, we were talking about it a little bit offline, MJ and I, and we're saying that maybe they're just not as 100% confident in Elgersma as we thought they were. Maybe Zach, as MJ said, is a little more injured than we thought he was. It's going to play a little bit of hell with their salary cap, though, because Drew's still making $400 in the third year of that deal, unless they're going to renegotiate it again. Well, I don't know why he would at this point. I wouldn't. I wouldn't do it. I don't know where he fits in, but they're going to have to move somebody off of the roster, you would think. Who will it be? Which one of those four is no longer going to be on the roster? And then if they move Perkins off the roster, who's doing short yardage for them? You're going to have...
That's what I asked.
Yeah.
Yeah, unless you put Elgersma in there, but because Brown is a little fragile for that, or it seems to.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Elgersma's big enough to do short yardage, but it's interesting.
Maybe, could be that that they've seen he's going to take a bit longer to develop than they thought and wanted some experience. Yeah, we'll find out.
Yeah. Meanwhile, Ottawa has the absolute worst quarterback room imaginable.
Yeah, no kidding.
What a disaster. I am so sorry, Redblack fans. You know who deserves better? Redblack fans deserve it better. And every single person on that team deserves better.
Yeah.
Because this is ridiculous.
Well, Coach Dinwiddie's the quarterback whisperer, so we'll see.
Oh, well, maybe it was Mark Miller this whole time.
Yeah. I don't know.
No,
I
don't believe that for a minute either. Don't get me started on Mark Mueller. Well, he's great if he could throw 20 yards.
part of it too is also I think there was like that locker room was probably pretty divided, and Ryan's like, okay, well, we're just gonna get rid of the guy that's causing the
Quite possibly.
the
Could be
divide,
a
right?
VA. Yeah, it could be a Rourke VA thing there going on.
Yeah.
Could be some of that. It could also be, Ryan did what is the new Jones, new Chris Jones. He's a great coach, not a
What a
great
moniker.
GM. He's the new Chris Jones. Give him some black and he's perfect.
Well,
in it.
he
So there you
has
go.
3 titles.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
That is true. Yeah.
Let's
and
check in with Elks fans.
Yeah.
Yeah.
See how that went.
Yeah. Well, hey, we had him in Riderville for a while too, and it's not a great experience.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know if that room was divided at all. The divide was probably getting larger the more that Mayer played too, because so far he has not looked great. Although again, coach
Probably
didn't
after the
that
second
all on
play
himself.
of that game.
But we'll see what Winnipeg does with that. Few other things, not a whole lot in transactions this week. The Stamps released a D lineman, Morris Brash, who I didn't even know about, and they signed a name I do recognize, Benny Sapp III, who was a DB that played with the Riders for 3 or 4 games last year and got cut out of training camp this year. He looked not bad, so they may have picked something up there. Saskatchewan's brought in another DB, Burgess Jr. Reinforcements there because they've got Milligan down, and it looked like Juju Schuster that they put in had a non-contact injury, so I'm guessing it's nothing good there, so they'll need a bit more. And then in BC, they've brought in some reinforcements for the receivers, Malala and somebody Fitzgerald, and they released Sione Tehama on the D line, which
that was a little bit of a surprise.
He played well. Yes.
Well, something had to happen.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Wrong, but
yeah, their problem hasn't been on the D line. It's a little further back.
And a little to the side.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hello. Benavides' defense is back.
Yes. Anyway, and this isn't a transaction, but I'm going to throw it in because I forgot to put it in the rundown anywhere else, and it matters. And that's that Sean Millington from back in the 90s or early 2000s with the Lions is going into the Hall of Fame. Got announced. So that's good news. And Ottawa, as you said, MJ, released Duggan and signed Nicholas Vataya. I can't even try. I'm terrible with names.
Doesn't matter.
Anyway, somebody that we may hear his name.
You won't.
All right, moving along quick because we got games to talk about. But first, let's talk fantasy. Another great week for you, MJ. Going to tell us what you did and how it turned out?
Well, I was up against Adam from the CFL Countdown, so I was pretty
Defending
worried.
champion.
Yeah. I beat him.
Yes.
Well done.
But not by any, I actually didn't have a very good lineup. So I just had a couple players who did some good things. So I had 140.4. So I had the Ticats defense, and I foolishly chose a quarterback and receiver who were playing in 7 inches of downfall rain. So that was Alexander and Philpott. But luckily I had Thies and Rankin. And then my other wide receiver was Wheatfall because he had such a good game last week. I was like, surely he's now Bo's go-to guy. Zero. He got 1 pass, it dropped.
Yes.
And then I had Mitchell, who I also thought was doing good with Bo, but not this week. So, but not bad.
Was enough to do it.
All things considered. Thank you,
Yes.
Rankin. I wish I had made you my captain.
I bet there's a lot of people thinking that way.
But if I had, he would have got -5 rushing yards. I just know it. Yes.
Well, I'm happy to report for whatever it's worth. I've risen from the ashes. I got my first win, so I'm now 1-2 with it. I was up against Cooper Trooper from Canadian Football Countdown, and he is very good. So I knew I had to get a good team. I don't know that I had a fantastic team to tell you the truth, but anyway, I had 146.5 and he came in at 142. Now, mind you, it was a high-scoring week in fantasy. Adam did say when he sent out the results for the week that the average score in the league this week was at 131.7, I think. So that's huge.
There was a lot of offense this week.
There was. And I went against a bunch of my rules in picking my team, and it worked out. So I had the Hamilton defense. I said I would never take the Chad on fantasy, but I took him because I didn't want to miss that matchup against Ottawa. And if he hadn't thrown 4 interceptions, my score would have been even better. But I said I'll not pick a running back against the Riders because of what they're doing. And in the end, the way the team worked out, I had room for Mills, so I took him. And his second half helped me a lot. I also took Hicks from Toronto at running back, and then I had a couple of Toronto receivers, Mytel and the new guy, Common, and that left me with enough money to take as my flex Tyson Philpott, who didn't perform as well because of the rain. But like I said, I got the first win. I'm on my way now.
There you go.
As it sits, if the season ended right now, you'd be in the playoffs, MJ. I'd be 2 spots out of it. So there's work to be done. Did you do a team at all this week, GT?
No, too busy.
All right. So that's basically the early news for this week. There's not a lot of it, which is good because we've got 4 games to talk about. And the first one was
No, stop. Are we talking about Nathan Rourke?
or
Or Chris
right. I
Morris?
skipped
Or-
over 2 things here. You're right. Let me go
Or
back first
attendance?
of all.
Or Brendan Soresby?
Yeah. See, there's what I do
Nice try.
when
Nice
I
try.
start messing around with the rundown. That happens. So
I
okay.
see what you were doing.
So okay, these were all MJ
They were all
topics.
more things.
I wasn't going to say that, MJ,
Oh
but
my
nonetheless, I noticed that.
My bad. I'm
All
sorry.
right, then. I
So
see
go
how
ahead.
it is.
Tell
I
us tell us your news about what the Edmonton Elks president was saying.
You know, guys, the vibes are pretty high in Edmonton. Like, the team is 2-0 and things are looking up, and Chris Morris just has to rain on his own parade. I don't want to talk about it, but it's everyone in Edmonton is talking about it, so we need to talk about it. There was a news article this week for Chris Morris saying that the name change remains the biggest obstacle in rebuilding support for the team. And that he said because of the name and COVID, but mostly the name, season tickets dropped from 20,000 to 7,000. He said that they've looked at like the name going back to the old name, but it's not viable. So they're just going to keep it, but they're not referring to it. There's going to call them the Green and Golds or the Double E. And I'm like, I don't know. I know Alberta gets a bad rap a lot of the time, especially lately, but Edmonton's not like this. Edmonton is a very progressive city. Like very. They vote NDP in provincial elections. They vote NDP in federal elections. There's vegan restaurants everywhere. There's a lot. There's a lot. It's a very like supportive, collaborative community here. And I mean, like just for example, like the Riverhawks one year, like after they found the remains of the children from the residential school in Kelowna, that year, I think it was that year that the Riverhawks wore orange shirts on Canada Day. Like, this is the vibe in Edmonton. You're not going to get 30,000 people in your stands by blowing dog whistles about name changes. It's not going to fly in this city. It's not going to fly. So it's unfortunate because they finally have a good team. And then I also want him to go to a Riverhawks game or a Stingers game to show them how to do game day situations because it's not the name change is the reason people aren't there. It's your garbage team. Well, we used to be. It's your garbage stadium experience. You mismanaged a fan. I don't think they understand how upsetting it was that for fans in Edmonton of the Elks that they mismanaged Trey Ford. That is, you can't even quantify it because it was so upsetting for people here. You mismanaged like a absolute crowd favorite. And yeah, your game day experience is just really bad. So like that those are nothing to do with a name change. If you start winning and have a good game day experience and put a good team on the field and have some positive community outreach, no one's going to care what your name of your team is. So just like grow up and get over it. I'm so sick of talking about this.
Yes.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, it's got nothing to do with anything except that they've been a bad football team for a long time. And they've been in the news cycle for a long time, not only as a bad football team, but as a bad organization with bad people running the organization, one after another after another. It's not, until this last year, and it looked like they were moving in the right direction, but they've swung sort of, now making comments that are kind of leading them back to bad people in the organization. So they just need to win football games and get out of their own way, and the fans will be back. And it's got nothing to do with the name of the team. As that merchandise proved, when they made that name change, it was selling like hotcakes. Everybody loved it. They did a great job with the changer over the field and the showing off with bringing out the emblem in the middle of the field and everything else. I remember that. And that the fans were excited by it. Then there was a big crowd that day. So it's got nothing to do with the name change. It's got all to do with the fact that since the name change, coincidentally, before and leading up to the name change and since, it's been a terrible team in a terrible organization. The only thing they've done right is the name change.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
get over the name change excuse and do everything else right, and you wouldn't have a problem. I mean, the running joke for the first 3 years was that Calgary won more games in Commonwealth than Edmonton did.
If they put as much energy into anything else as they do this name change, complaining about this, like, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
Like, just honestly.
The thing is, this was semi-predictable when we saw Larry Thompson buy the team and immediately start talking about how he didn't like the name. And then he reinforced it by building an echo chamber of people who had that same opinion as their front office. And it's unfortunate. You would think that you could move past racism and just put entertaining football on the field and entertain the fans with a good product from how you present it, and you'd be fine. And I think they will be if they just concentrate on that.
I have no problem with them marketing the double E. It's still the double E. It's still the Edmonton Elks. It's double E. The colors are the same. I have no problem in going back to old uniforms and just a double E on the helmets. That's what they did. That's what they were. So that's fine. It's just incessant bringing it up and talk about it. I did feel by watching that interview that he got a little sideswiped, so to speak. It didn't feel like that's where he was going to go, but then that's sort of, he got led there by the questioning, but then he delved into it. I mean, he went into it, and I think that was the mistake, where he should have recognized, that no, that's not where I need to go, and back off and change the subject. So maybe he needs a little bit of media training, maybe. But that was wrong. And the second thing that you had posted, MJ, about the comments that he made about the immigrant status, he wasn't wrong. He's absolutely correct. He's 100% correct, except that he used the wrong words, because you don't indoctrinate anyone. Indoctrination is not what we do. Indoctrination is forcing. We don't force people. We educate. We try to bring along, and we've done a terrible job of bringing the history as a country, as an organization, and as a CFL, as a league, has done a terrible job of getting out to new immigrant statuses and teaching them about the CFL, the history of the CFL, the importance of the CFL, and the lovely game that it is, and how exciting it can be. I say that, and I've said that for a long time. So I completely will agree with him on that. But the fact is, you can't blame them again. You don't blame the people that aren't coming. You blame yourself for not getting them to come. You've said that before, MJ, too, and I agree with you 100%, that this is not anyone's fault but the organization. Not the government's responsibility. It's not the immigrants' responsibility. It's the league and the organization's responsibility to go attract those new immigrants and those new Canadians. And you don't indoctrinate, you teach and you educate, and then you make them fan. That's what you do. That's your job. Go do it. Don't blame someone else.
Yes, you welcome them in. Well said. You also, apparently I skipped over a few things that you wanted to talk about, MJ. You also mentioned to me something about Mr. Rourke, and I'll let you take it from there.
Yeah, this is a good news story.
Yay, we need some of those.
Finally a positive story in the press. Nathan Rourke did a really nice interview with Ian Hannah-Mansing on CBC, and they talked about quite a few things, but the overarching thing was talking about his Be More Than a Bystander program that he's a part of, where they go and talk to youth, mostly men and boys, about like being more than a bystander, like about toxic masculinity and gender-based violence. He actually really opened up. He was saying that like he does this because his mom was a victim of, like, a survivor of sexual abuse, and that and his faith, which are like, and these things are important for him, and he's just like trying to make the world a better place. And I thought that was like so sweet. So good for him, because this red pill stuff is quite scary. And if you can get a star of a league and a face of a league out there talking about this stuff to young men, this is fantastic. They also kind of tried to get him to talk about the NFL, and he was just like, yeah, I had fun there. I'm here now. And it was interesting because he was talking about how the CFL needs to market Canadian players. He's like, we have really great Canadian talent and it's just not being marketed. And I was like, oh man, Nathan, I love you. Yes, this is exactly. He's like, you've missed the boat on this complete made in Canada. You could have done a whole campaign about it, and it didn't happen. So, and then what else? And then he talked a little about his flag football. So like, oh, you're gonna go play in the Olympics? He's like, well, I wasn't even a thing I thought I could do, and I want to try. He's like, but I've started flag now because I have a lot of respect for the athletes who have been playing flag at a very high level. And I'm just not going to walk in there and take someone's job without knowing how to play. I am working on how to play flag football. So very humble, very nice interview. It was really well done.
Yeah. He's a blessing to this league. And he's right. The league did the exact opposite of what was needed to take advantage of the whole Canadian pride that's going on out there. But more important, all that you said was good. But the first one about a role model for young men pushing against toxic masculinity, because there is so much of the online world out there pushing for it and trying to indoctrinate these unfortunate young men into bad attitudes. So thank you, Nathan.
Yeah, I thought it was a terrific interview. I really enjoyed it.
Good. Yes. And important that he speaks out. I hope we maybe, he had the chance, but we've got other good Canadians out there that I'd love to hear weigh in on this too. So Canadian football players. Two other things, little bit quickly, don't know that they need a lot. We were talking about the attendance, and the first week was terrible at 17,119 on average. Second week jumped way up to 27 and almost 28,000. Unfortunately, this week with the games back in Ottawa and Edmonton still, that didn't help. So we were down almost to what we were the first week. It was 17,568.
In fairness to Edmonton, we got a month's worth of rain in 2 days.
That was unbelievable watching.
How you saw it on TV was like a fraction of what it was actually like sitting in those stands.
Full credit to the fans that were out there. That is something else. Yes. And that impacted it. But you can see the impact was also like Ottawa. I think Ottawa had less than their first game. They had just under 14,000. Calgary,
don't worry, guys. McLeod Bethel Thompson's going to fix that.
There we go. Calgary was the best at over 21,000, and Hamilton was up over 20,000, so 5,000 more than their first game, even though it was a Friday night game.
Yeah. Hamilton, I was going to mention when we got to the game, but I don't know if they announced that many. I was going to ask what the attendance was, because it certainly didn't look like it on television. It looked really empty on television.
All right. So do teams... This is the interesting thing. Do teams base attendance on ticket sales, or do they base it on scanned tickets? Because they're two different things.
Oh, no, it's on sales. It's not on scanned tickets.
So, you might buy a ticket and just be like, gross. It's so gross out. I'm not going.
Right. And that probably happened in Edmonton more than anywhere else, right? Because even their season tickets, they just count them automatically as attendance. Yeah. So, you can tell the season ticket base by the minimum number that they will tell you for any attendance. But I just thought Hamilton in particular looked very empty. I was very surprised considering, the first 2 weeks they had, the home game against BC, against Nathan, everything else. I thought there would be a much better looking crowd than it looked like on TV. And I know there's the end zone party places and all that other stuff, but that still doesn't excuse wide open swaths of empty stands. So
I wonder what their ticket prices are.
Yeah.
I'll have to look.
I think they're reasonable. They're higher than Toronto. I know that when I buy tickets when I go to game in Hamilton, it's always more money than it is in Toronto. And considerably more.
Okay.
You know.
Well, we'll get Cub reporter MJ working on that to
Yeah, I'll
come
do
back with the next.
maybe I'll do a deep dive of ticket prices across the league.
Sure. Anyway, so a little bit disappointing. Will it be better this week? I certainly hope so, and we'll see, because there's games back in at least the two prairie hotbeds that sell very well. It'll get dragged down somewhat by Touchdown Kelowna because you're 20,000 maximum there, and I think they had sold it out, and they've now apparently found a few other seats and released a few more this week. I don't know if those have been gobbled up or not, but we'll see. The other thing that, before we go on to the games that you brought up, MJ, was the bad boy quarterback from down south, Brendan Soresby, is this it? The college guy who's been suspended for betting on games.
Betting on his own games.
Yes.
Yeah. And
So-
lots of them.
And for $90,000 of bets over 4 years. This NFL released a notice today that they were going to have a supplemental draft, and he was the only one that applied. And they're like, your application provided no evidence as to why we should let you be in the supplemental draft. They're not having a supplemental draft.
Cool.
And I only bring this up because then everybody today was like, oh, well, he's going to the CFL. Like, oh, get ready, CFL. He's coming. He's going to, because he's not eligible for the NFL draft till 2027. I was like, guys, we also have gambling rules in the CFL. Talk to Sean Lemon. We have gambling rules. He's not coming here. Anyway, this whole story was just to say, like, he's not coming here. Stop talking about it.
Yes. Generally, those comments, just disregard them, because they're from people in America that have no idea what the CFL is. They just believe that it's a lesser league, and that's where all the washed up people in America go to. They have no concept. They have no idea of how it works. There's no way a guy like that is, why would he even bother? You know, he's got a year. They have already said you can come back next year, but you can't come in this year. So he's made enough money, I'm sure, from NIL that he can wait a year to go back. He'll still be a first round pick. He might not be the number one pick anymore, but he'll be a first round pick next year. So it's like, take a year off, chill, and learn, get and mature a bit, and maybe you'll get over it. So yeah, he was never coming here. That's just those squawk. Every single player in the States that crashes and burns, get ready to go to the CFL. Whatever.
But you know why? So part of that is, though, Gigi's, because the Argos keep signing these kinds of guys.
Yeah.
I was like, if anyone's going to sign him, it'll be Toronto.
Yes. And it's gone on forever. There was a line North Dallas 40 from, I think, the early 70s where the player wasn't performing well, and someone said to him, better learn to speak Canadian. You know?
Yeah.
So it's, but no, I mean, first of all, why would anyone in the CFL want him for 1 year? He's,
right.
No matter how good he is, he's learning a brand new game and trying to perform and knowing you're going to lose him right away. And second, what you said, and plus, we don't want gamblers in the league. And what you said, GT, if he is that close to being a top round NFL draft, then he's made millions in NIL number already. So
Maybe he doesn't have that money anymore because he's gambled it all away.
That's possible too. Yeah,
Yep.
I don't know. Anyway, that's about it. We're going to go on to the games. As soon as I say one more thing, because I forgot this on fantasy, because I enjoy these little things about it. So I'm watching the games, and I know what my team has, and I don't check the tracker through the game, but I know what I've got for players, and I'm feeling pretty darn good about it. And then the game's over, and I look and I find out I won by 4 points over Cooper Trooper. So that's okay. So who did he run? Turns out he ran Keon Schaefer-Baker as one of his players. So that second last play of the game, where the Calgary defender came up and smashed Schaefer-Baker on the 1 inch line and kept him out of the end zone, gave me my victory. He got the touchdown. It would have been 6 points for Cooper Trooper, and I would have been losing again. So you just never know where you're going to find the points in these games.
They say it's 4 or 5 plays every game, right?
Yeah. And apparently that's true of fantasy too.
Yeah.
Fun when you get one that hits that close to home. Anyway, so am I safe now? Have we covered everything we were going to? Okay.
Yeah, we're good.
I do not want to face a revolt here. So.
This has been noted. This has been noted.
Yeah.
All right. So the first game of the weekend.
And I'm standing in solidarity, by the way.
Okay. You're not saying with who. You're just in solidarity.
That's right.
Okay. First game of the weekend was BC going into Hamilton, and they were in an unfortunate position because 4 of their starting 5 receivers were injured and out. And for some strange reason, they elected not to field a defense. So game didn't go, well, it didn't go bad, actually. BC 27, Hamilton 41, but BC had 2 garbage time touchdowns to get them there. It was pretty much dominated by Hamilton. If anything, I was impressed with the amount that Rourke was able to move the ball with a completely new set of receivers. But that's pretty much the story. What were your thoughts on it? MJ, Hamilton's your team. Why don't you lead here?
Well, I made a joke that Bryce should have started this game because these are all the practice roster guys that he's used to throwing to.
Yeah.
It might have gone better. Yeah, as you said, I don't think the BC defense got on the plane. That was terrible. That was terrible, terrible defense. Bo had 5 touchdowns. I think they said he had a touchdown for every 3 completions.
Mhm.
Like, they didn't cover Lawler. Like, Lawler's been, like, shut down for 2 weeks, and then you guys roll into town, and all of a sudden, like, you've opened the cage now, right? Get ready, other teams. But, yeah, that was bad, and I'm not... I have a lot of Lions fans in my family, and they are all very upset that Benavides still has a job as of today. Very.
Yes.
Like, I don't know I've watched this game and I wrote down some notes, and now some of them don't even make sense, but we'll go through. Yeah, I feel bad for BC because Poisson got injured during that game.
Yes. Yep.
And McInnes got injured during that game. So they had basically had no receivers.
Yeah. Well, McInnes went back out there on one leg.
Yeah, his ankle
and I couldn't believe late in the game they were still running. I'm like, they must have 0 people left on the bench. They were talking on television. Why do you have your both quarterbacks out there, Rourke and Bo, late in the game at this stage before Bryce even went in? Why are they both still out there? And I'm like, why is McInnes still out there? You've got no receivers, and this is the only guy you're going to have for the next 6 weeks by the looks of it. And he's on one leg. And if he goes down for any length of time, you're really screwed. And then sure enough, today I read that he's not going to be able to go this week at least. So they're down to, as you said, signing guys that, looking around, trying to find people. It was wild.
At some point, like, can your DBs go line up as receivers? Like, at some point.
Can.
Yeah. So, like, why wouldn't you take a couple of your ball hawks and just go put them out on receiver?
Yeah.
The game is already over.
Right.
Yeah.
Save McInnes from like doing more damage to his ankle. Put some DBs out there that can like catch the ball decently well. Don't put Rourke back out. It was stupid that Rourke and Bo were out there. I understand that Bo was trying to get 6 touchdowns, blah, 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 but I'm not a fan of that because I like to take the long view. We need you in October and November. There's no reason why Trey and Bryce shouldn't have been playing, at least for the last 12 minutes of that game.
I personally think Rourke was in there because he hadn't thrown a touchdown pass yet this season.
Too bad.
Because
Too bad.
I'm not saying it's right, but I'm saying that I think was it, because as soon as he threw the touchdown pass, he was out and Chase was in.
Bad.
Yep.
Buck Pierce and Nathan Rourke. I don't care. What if he gotten injured in garbage time? Like, that's... Whoa, it's reckless. It's reckless. I have a note saying there was a challenge of an automatic challenge, but I don't actually remember. I think there was an automatic review for something that someone challenged. Yes. I think it was Ben Major again that they did this to.
It was great.
Okay.
And he was laughing again. And again, he had, why me, looking on his face. It was hilarious. It was classic.
Well, it was. And it was better than just that, too, because I have it down in my notes as the Ben Major workout program. Because he lost the connection from his headset up to the replay center. So he had to run all the way over to the sidelines, get a sideline official's headset, go through it all, got it, okay, back, I'm out on the field, the challenge is here, this is how it's turned out, started walking onto the field, and the challenge flag comes out, so he's got to run all the way back to the sidelines again.
Oh, goodness.
But hey, it worked out in the end. The challenge to the challenge actually worked this time.
Yeah, that one worked out, I think.
Yeah.
What else? Okay, so this like man guy for the Ticats, pretty good, huh? He is a global player from Germany. He is not a punter.
Yeah.
He is a fullback.
Yeah. No, he's a tight end.
Oh, well.
They list him as tight end, which is,
I guess.
they did that with Robinson last year, but they do, the way him and Milanovic are using him, they may start seeing other teams actually real tight ends in the CFL again.
Yeah. He's been a really fun, and you just like the joy on that man's face.
Yeah.
He is just like living his best life, and it's just like so nice to see. And okay, so it's not just the receivers and DBs that were drama, because the BC punter had 3 special teams tackles, and if your punter is having to tackle 3 times, then it's not going well for you.
Yeah. Good tackler though.
Yeah, he's gonna get hurt.
Yeah.
Stop doing this.
He's a big boy. He'll be
I
fine.
don't know. I think it's a disaster. It's a good disaster on all 3 fronts for this team, except for Sean White and Nathan Rourke. Everything else is a mess. Like, and then my favorite Luke Wilson moment was when he said, "I'm confused," when there was a fumble that was not a fumble call. He's like, "I'm confused." I'm like, you know what, Luke? You're right. Me too. Thank you for voicing that for all of us. He had a couple good one-liners like that. When like they tore up, like Bo tore the one part, he's like, "I don't understand what's happening here." He's like, "What? Why?" Yes. Anyway, I'm 1-0 against my husband, and the Ticats are humming. Things are going good for me.
Gotta like it. Did you see any of this one, GT? Any thoughts or comments?
Yeah, I did. My first thing is because of last week, I did not see the BC game, so I could not comment on the uniforms. I did see the uniforms this week. They're bad.
Yeah.
They're bad.
And the Saskatchewan ones aren't any better.
They're worse.
The brief look I had at the Saskatchewan ones today, they look pretty bad too. So the Ottawa ones look great when we get there.
Yeah.
I thought the Ottawa ones looked like a classic white uniform, not some shenanigan white try to sell something uniform, whatever. Like BC, it was like, they had nothing. I thought Benavides' defense is back from the middle of last year. They just showed up. It was funny because even like after that first touchdown, which again, we know Bo loves to go deep early in the game, and they set it up, and it was a beautiful pass, was down the field. He was so wide open. And Dusty and it was in the crowd going, did they not know? And then they showed the receiver on the sideline, and he's looking at the pad, and he's like, "I can't believe they left me open that way." Like, he's like, wow, just going, wow. It was incredible. It was pretty funny. BC, man, they looked so sad at the end of the night. They were blown out like Pink Floyd back in 75. And I was there for 7. I was there at 75, and it was, it was a lot better than they looked that last night, I'll tell you. So yeah. Yeah. Anyways, it was pretty awful for BC.
Yeah, it was. And I thought that one of the most telling things about the fact that you could see Hamilton wasn't terribly worried about the downfield passing, because there were at least a few, I think several second and long situations where they rushed 3, but they kept 2 spies basically just hanging out at the edge of either flat for if Nathan tried to come on out. And it worked out
a
well.
little coffee break. It's fine.
Yeah, it was a 5-man rush. Just 2 of them were
The thing was, and I was thinking this through the game, and then then it turned out at the end of the game, statistically, I was going, Nathan's thrown from, he's had the ball longer. He's run more plays. Yeah. They just didn't score. If they had scored, and they were like, every time Hamilton scored on those long passes in the first half, BC answered with a drive. Then they just didn't put it into the end zone, and they intended for field goals, and that was it. Then they just couldn't keep up in the second half. But if they had been able to score at all on any of those drives, it might have completely changed that game. But the fact that they didn't, and then sure enough, at the end, the statistics showed that, I think he outthrew. I think he had more completions. He had more passes. Yeah. He had more yardage. They had more time. They had more running. The stats were totally in BC's favor, and yet the scoreboard was the exact opposite. So
Yeah.
All that
Well,
matters.
I said earlier, I thought it was an absolutely fantastic performance he put together, considering he was throwing to a bunch of guys they picked up at Home Depot that morning,
Yeah.
waiting for work, So it's, yeah. The other
Yeah.
thing that I liked about this was pregame, they interviewed Keandre Smith and questioned about the fact that Justin McInnes said McInnes and Hatcher were the best receiving duo in the league. And what do you have to say about that as far as you and Kenny goes? And I loved it because he didn't brag or anything. His response was, receiver's a ego position. You know what my answer is.
Yeah. Well, he has an ego. There's no doubt about that.
He
I was
does.
like, Keandre cannot, like, maybe he's learned a little to keep his mouth shut after last year.
No,
Maybe.
that's okay though. You know,
Yeah.
we were talking last week about guys that we need some guys that run their mouth in the league.
For
There's
sure.
no problem with that.
Keandre is the guy to do it.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah.
Bo's
You know
not
what?
doing too
Backing it
bad.
up.
Bo's not doing too bad with Player of the Week sign held up in front of the camera after the game with 3 games still to play and stuff. Yeah, no, he's all right.
Bo wants everyone to know that they made a terrible error in MOP last year.
Yeah.
He's still bitter about it. He wants everyone to know that that was a mistake. Yeah.
That was, in many ways, a game best forgotten. It does show that Hamilton does have
This
a
was
very
a
good team.
great game. I had an amazing time.
I'm sure you did.
I enjoyed all of it. Fantastic. Game of the
Okay.
week.
Well, we won't talk any more about it, so we don't take any of your glow away. We'll just leave that masterpiece right where it was, and move on to Toronto going into Ottawa. Toronto 44, Ottawa 24. The first time Jake Mara threw the ball up in the air, it was someone in a different colored jersey that caught it, and that pretty much explains the game in itself. Other stuff happened, but that is at least a good metaphor for the game overall.
Welcome to the Jake Bear experience.
Yeah. So go ahead. Tell us more about it, GT.
Well, you basically summed it up. I mean, again, I didn't watch all these games because I was really busy, so I had to watch them on record. And so I was flipping through with trying to skip commercials and ended up skipping most of the games somehow. So that's what happens when you hit one button too many. All of a sudden, it's the end of the third quarter. And that's basically what happened in this game as well. And so I missed a lot of it, but every time I turned it on, it was one of two things: either a touchdown or an interception by Chad Kelly, one or the because he had equal number of each, I think. And Jake Mara doing Jake Mara things, which is just not good enough. Just not good enough. That's all there is to it. And when you need a turnover, guaranteed he's going to give you a turnover. Wrong way, but he'll give you one.
They did something very similar to BC, where Toronto would score a touchdown and they would come back, but they would end up kicking a field goal. Yeah. And then Toronto go back and score a touchdown. Like, you're never going to keep up if you're kicking field goals.
Yeah.
And there are other teams scoring touchdowns. That just seemed, because it was close until the half. Like at the half, it was still pretty close. And that's when I left to go to the Elks game. And I was like, okay, well, this is actually turning out to be a much better game than I thought. And then I saw the score and I was like, oh, goodness. Then when I saw the highlights, I just saw, they just could not, there was no red zone production from the Redblacks, which is too bad. It was too bad because, they have such a good receiving core that this is so silly. And then their defense was I think their defense played really well. Like Niles Morgan was playing lights out. But then if you're always on the field, you can't keep that for 4 quarters when you're playing the bulk of the time. It's just too bad.
Coach Dinwiddie said it's not Mayor's fault. It's his fault as the play caller, that he didn't put Mayor in a position to succeed, and he needs to do much better at that. And I thought, really? You mean those 3 times when you were on the 1-yard line trying to go into the goal line and you went out of the shotgun all 3?
No, they did not. No.
Yep. 2 passes, and then they try a run that gets stuffed all out of the shotgun. So I don't know if he figures he doesn't. Maybe that's what this guy they brought up out of the States is.
Yes,
maybe
they have
he's
no
a third down
quarterback
guy.
to do short yardage. Who's doing short yardage for them? Nobody.
Well, maybe it's Nicholas Vatetto or whoever.
Yeah.
Maybe I didn't see the one thing. Well, I probably saw it, but didn't really take note of his size. Maybe he's 6'8" and 300-pound quarterback that they're going to use on third down stuff. But they needed something.
Eberhard had a nice game.
Yes,
Yeah,
he
he had a
did. He
good-
caught just about everything thrown at him.
Yeah,
He was the one sort of bright spot out
he's
there
the
for
bright
them. But
spot.
there was also a moment. People complain about returners just running to the sideline and out. Why don't they fight for those few extra yards? And there was a moment where you can see why not, because Grant did that. He streaked to the sidelines, and then just as he got there was a bit of an opening, so he turned to try and go upfield for probably what it could have got, maybe if the hole he thought was there, another 3 or 4 yards, but it wasn't it. He just got pasted. So there's a reason you keep going out of bounds when you can. Yeah. But the only other thing, I mean, there's not so much to talk about with this game because it wasn't a good game any way around, really. You know, like you said, Kelly looked fantastic in the first half. In the second half, he couldn't tell what color he was throwing the ball to. And
Did you
apparently
see him get his head knocked? Like, 'cause someone said that he started playing like crap after he like hit his head.
well,
He
I saw
he took a couple shots where the helmet came off in the first half.
Yeah.
Yeah. I saw a comment from Coach Miller. The way that the article that I saw didn't really say, was he asked, did Kelly have a concussion or did he bring it up on his own? But he addressed the concussion thing, and his answer, frankly, appalled me. It was, I don't think so. They didn't tell me anything about a concussion.
The 3 down guys were really up in arms about this today because they said that they saw him. I can't remember if it was a hit or if he hit his head off the ground, but then he started throwing interceptions after that. And I didn't see it, but if that's true, that's a terrible coaching.
Well, it is. And it's something about the organization, and it's Kelly, because don't forget the game that he got hurt. He talked about the fact that he was playing concussed in that, but he just didn't tell anyone because, yeah.
Right. It's not.
Yes.
Your backup won a Grey Cup. They can go in. Arbuckle can go in. It's not like you're putting no-name guy in.
Yeah, but
goodness.
I don't know.
All right. Well, good luck, Argos.
Yes. The only other thing worth mentioning in this, and it's at least on a slightly lighter note, perhaps, is the fact that, again, the commentators love to pump up the players, especially the stars. And Dwayne Ford got talking about Pickett, what a great defensive player he is. And his comment was, and of course, Ottawa would have loved to keep him, but they couldn't find the money to fit him in. And I'm sitting there thinking, do you remember this the way I do, that Dinwiddie came into town and 3 days later he was released? Pickett's a hell of a good player. I'm very impressed with him, but there's something between him and Dinwiddie that just doesn't.
Did you hear
play
today
well.
that they released Lewis Ward while he was on his honeymoon in Mexico?
Oh, no, I didn't know that. Class.
Nice, guys. Nice.
That's it. Going on to the this week's Monsoon Bowl.
Yes.
Montreal 29, Edmonton 32. Bit of a shocker. It's the game we all got wrong on our picks last week, and it was played in the rain, and so there was some ugliness and some sloppiness, but there was also some very good football going on, and full credit to the Elks. They fell behind a bit early, but they ended up coming back, fighting their way back in it, got it into overtime, and then took it over in overtime. And in the end, a defining moment was within overtime. Rankin fumbled, and there was a big kerfuffle and shuffling and crashing around, and it was awfully hard to tell who touched the ball before it went out of bounds. Looked like it could have been either. It looked like there might have been Montreal, but they ruled Edmonton on the field, and there wasn't enough to overturn it. And I mentioned this because I'll be talking about this with an interesting part of the weekend later on too. But that was a key moment where, like I said, you could, depending on which color you were wearing of a jersey at the day, you could make a good case for either team getting it. And it was good to see the replay center when they just said, we don't have enough evidence. We've got to go with the field.
Yeah, they used that line on television twice, that there wasn't enough evidence to overturn the call. I thought Boschman was underneath of it in that play. I really did. I thought it was Montreal's ball. And they would have won the game on that, because that would have been a turnover, and they would have won by the field goal instead of losing by the 4 points or whatever on the touchdown by Edmonton later on. But on that same drive that eventually Fajardo ran it in the opposite direction and into the end zone for. But at the same time, Montreal kind of took their foot off the gas in the third quarter, and Edmonton made adjustments. Montreal didn't seem to make the adjustments at halftime. And Edmonton made some, and then Rankin just did Rankin thing. As much as I just say that you need to spy that guy, he's so good, you need to spy that guy. I mean, he can stop on a dime, he can make a turn, and then he's so fast that once he gets going, I mean, they had him twice in the backfield on both of those touchdowns. He should have been stopped in the backfield, but he turned on a dime. Again, credit to Edmonton that they won. I don't think that they played that great a game. I just think they won on two huge plays, really, by Rankin, and then a very nice touchdown by Fajardo at the end of the game. I thought that was a well-executed play in overtime where he faked to Rankin and then Fajardo went the other way into the end zone. I thought that was well executed, but I also think they shouldn't have had the chance to execute that should have been game over, and Boschman had that ball, in my opinion, but whatever. And it was a monsoon, so you take what you can get. I thought Alexander played great in the first half. He played great to get some momentum back. Once Edmonton had basically won the third quarter and taken all momentum away, I thought Montreal gave themselves a chance to win after taking themselves out of the game.
Well, Rankin was their top receiver as well as their rusher. Like
but those receiving yards are like a 5-yard pass and a 65-yard run. So those that count. So, that's not like it's a 65-yard pass,
Yeah. Well, no one else had over 50 yards except for him receiving.
But it says something about the Al secondary, though, because that was one thing I noticed, is that for some reason the Al's pass rush really wasn't there. Cody was getting a long time back in the pocket to get the ball out, and he was still either checking it down or throwing it away a lot of the time. So on the back end, their coverage had to be really solid. And maybe that's where Rankin got a lot more touches with it from there. But yeah, I have to agree with you, GT. It might have been the best game I've seen from him yet, because I've seen him do quite well where he manages to get around a corner or break through a couple of tackles and then streaks to the end zone. But these ones he worked for. He was, like you said, reversing his field, breaking tackles, doing what he needed to get out into the open where his speed could really take over for him.
Yeah, I thought, but he wasn't there throughout the game, unless I'm mistaken. But I don't remember his first half being anything to write home about.
They had negative rushing yards.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
At one point in the game. Yeah,
and that's
I was sitting by the scoreboard.
Kind of standard for his game. He's either negative yards or over 20.
Yeah. Interesting game. Good for them. Oh, good for them.
Yeah. And I noted at one point there was a great punt by Zima who didn't just put one in and out of bounds on the 1 yard line. He kicked it and sort of backspun and left it sitting in the middle of the field on the 1 yard line, no return capable. So got to appreciate those kind of skills from a punter. Other than that, I sort of agree with you. Edmonton, I think that's the identity of their team. They're just going to keep scrapping, and they've got a good enough defense to hold teams to, into the 20 to 30 point range. And if they can pull off a few big plays one way or another, it's going to be interesting this weekend.
I mean, again, like there was a minute left in the first half, and I was thinking Edmonton might not score. Like they might be shut out going into the second half, or then they finally got a touchdown with 0 seconds or whatever it was left in the first half. And then they came out of the break and were on fire, it seemed, in the third quarter. It was, so it wasn't like they had a great first half. I don't think they played scrappy. I think they just kind of, Montreal took the foot off the gas somehow in the third quarter. And I don't know why, but it seemed like that's what happened. And again, I think it was 2 tremendous plays by one individual player, not a great overall team kind of comeback that did it all. It was just 2 tremendous plays that scored 2 touchdowns. And all of a sudden they're like, wow, now we're in this game and we actually have a 1-point lead. And then they kind of rolled a bit from there before Montreal went, whoa, and woke up again.
Mind you, I've got to say, whether that fumble was Montreal or Edmonton, I really couldn't tell. And on a couple other challenges, I couldn't tell. But I did have my old prescription then, and apparently my eyes are getting worse. So I have brand new fancy glasses today with a new prescription, and I can actually see things. I'm not trying to interpret the football by braille anymore on the screen. So maybe I should take your word for it. But I thought that they showed some grit stuck in there.
Yeah.
Interestingly enough, maybe it was just because it was in Alberta, because there was another game in Alberta that had a very similar sort of trajectory.
I have things to say.
All right. Oops.
Awesome.
Okay.
It's like you guys don't want me to do this podcast today.
That is not true. That is not true.
I was at this game, and it was like the most rain I've ever sat in my entire life. But I just want, it was the home opener. And we got to the train station downtown because we have to change trains now because there's a new train line. And there's like people dressed up as referees directing you to which train to get on to get to the stadium. And I was like, this is so nice. They gave my kid, they were blowing the whistle at my kid because he's got his Alouettes hat on. It was so nice. So I was like, oh, is this like the Edmonton Transit, or is this the Elks that are doing this? This is so awesome. Like, this has been really helpful. And I went up into one of them and asked, and you know what? I'm going to shut them out because it wasn't the Elks or Edmonton Transit that did that. It was the Edmonton Arts Council. And they were volunteers, and they came out they thought it'd be really a nice gesture to do that for first game to help fans navigate the new transit
system. That is
fantastic. So it was really nice. They had like music and whistles, and it was like they were getting the party started for those of us who were brave enough to go. I had so much rain gear on. I've never worn so much rain gear in my life. And the rain stopped for a bit, and then it was just torrential. And at one point, when Philpott caught the pass on the sideline, I leaned forward because we were sitting in the end zone. I leaned forward because I was like, that was a catch. And they ruled it no. We're all leaning forward. All the rain from my poncho fell on, like, soaked me and my husband. We're like, oh no. But yeah, so like if you were at the game with us, kudos to you. Yeah, it was, it wasn't too cold. It was really cold up in the concourse. It was really windy up there and cold, but down field level, it was pretty warm. So we were able to stay the whole time. And so a couple things. Maltos' groin looks just fine. He kicked 5 field goals. Yeah. So he was apparently game time decision. So no problem. I was like, well, they're really testing it out there. Like 5 field goals. And then Cody and Alexander traded jerseys after the game. That was really nice. They took some pictures. That was cute. And I think he was just like, if anyone's going to beat me, I'm glad it was Cody. He kind of had that look about him on the sideline. Yep. And then I just want to shout out the Alouettes. It was pouring. You lost in overtime on an very questionable, iffy call. And Maltos Diaz and Philpott both came over to talk to my kid after the game and take pictures with him. And you didn't have to do that. You were miserable. And you made his day. So thank you.
Yes. Nice. Yeah, I saw the pictures and I was so impressed by that. Like you said,
Maltos is like, here, hold my helmet.
Yeah. And Philpott with a smile, just a huge smile, very impressive. Okay. Any more? I do want you to come back next week. So I
hope it's sunny next time I'm there. That's all I'll say. I know. I'm like,
can we move on now?
Just leave.
Yes. I might be getting a little gun shy here. Okay. So maybe the trajectory of the Edmonton game had something to do with being in Alberta because there was another game very similar. Actually, a lot different, but it was similar in that Saskatchewan came out gangbusters, took an early lead. Calgary, the offense was frankly anemic in the first half, and then it just flipped around completely in the second half, went into, it was double overtime that it took to get there. There were a couple of really interesting challenges in this one too. In the end, it was Saskatchewan that in the second overtime got the touchdown as opposed to a field goal for Calgary and came out ahead. Saskatchewan 40, Calgary 37. So there's a lot to talk about. My first thought was for GT, it's the trying to think the jersey from Saskatchewan.
Yes, the Michael Bishop jersey.
Michael Bishop, that's who it was. So it's at $77 and counting.
$77 and counting with one game left on October the 2nd.
Aha. So that could be an expensive one for anyone who's looking at maybe trying to get in when that one's available. Now tell me, if they meet in the playoffs, are we putting that on too, or is it just regular season?
I had it at regular season.
Probably best. Yeah.
Probably best. I left it at regular season. So yeah. So it's at currently, I was going to mention this myself, that currently that jersey is now at $77. And with the next game is October the 2nd, and that will finish it off, and we'll go from there. So by Thanksgiving, someone we hope will be the proud owner of a Michael Bishop Saskatchewan Roughriders jersey. So.
Yes. So tell us, what else did you see in the game?
I saw red, and not just the team. I saw red coming. I saw steam coming out of my ears. I was like, yeah, that was a terrible first half. I was like, again, it was so bad that first quarter, and in midway through the second quarter, that I like so furious. I was just skipping ahead so fast. I missed apparently a kickoff or a punt or a field goal or something for a touchdown by Calgary at the end of the half. I missed the next thing I turned it on. It was 31-17 for Saskatchewan midway through or late in the third quarter. And I thought it was over. And then all of a sudden Calgary woke up, and it was like, well, why didn't you play like this for the first half? Why did you wait until the fourth quarter and be down 14 points before you decide to play? I was furious. I haven't been that furious with the team in a while. It only goes to show again, I guess, that I have expectations this year. I certainly wouldn't have been this mad this early last year when I had zero expectations. So I does say something about where I put the team. The rest of the game was like, yeah, they played well. Saskatchewan played well. I thought it was an entertaining game, and at the end, it was what it was. We lost. Done.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, it's one of these two teams between Calgary and BC is going to be 0-3, and I didn't think either of those two teams would be 0-3 to start the year. So
yeah, that's true. Well, Calgary wasn't all bad plays in the first half. They did manage to sack Harris and get a strip sack down inside the Saskatchewan 10, if I remember right. And so they put that in to get a touchdown, and that kept them within touch within the game. And
yeah, I was more concerned about the secondary than I was about the line, and I thought they did a pretty good job on Ouellette as well. So I thought the front seven played well. I thought the back end was horrible, just horrible. They weren't in position. There was like that Emilus catch over the middle. There was no one else in the picture when he caught the ball. Literally, there was no one else in the picture. It was ridiculous.
Yeah. Mind you, they did that to BC too. So it's how much is one, how much is the other. But the other thing you mentioned about the return for the touchdown, that I remember Corey Mace at the end of the Western final when he kicked the ball away a couple of times when everybody said you can't do that, and then ended up winning. He said, we prepare for every scenario that can possibly happen. So we're not making a choice in the moment. We know what we're going to do ahead of time. Well, I think this was the first time I've seen them flustered where they weren't prepared for it, because what you were talking about there, Saskatchewan scored the touchdown with very little time left in the half. I think 30 seconds or something. On the kickoff, the ball hung up in that heavy wind, and one of the Saskatchewan cover team managed to run in and recover it about the 35-yard line. So they got the ball back, and there was like time for one play that I think they ran and got a yard or two. And then they had to decide, what are we doing from here? It's a 40-some yard field goal into a heavy wind. And I would think that from what I've seen of him, if he was prepared for that, Mace would have said, just take a knee. We've got a good lead. Why take a chance on anything? But in the rush of having to make a decision, they sent the field goal kicker out there. He took it wide, and McAllister ran it back for the touchdown and brought Calgary back into the game. So that I put that down to a great special teams play by Calgary and a great return by McAllister, but also to a real coaching error at where they were in the game. The 3 points weren't at a premium at that point, in my opinion.
I was zipping through it, so I didn't even see it. I was just angry.
Yeah.
Well, by the time I got home from the Elks game, this game was over. So I have 3 notes for you. 1, Wind seemed to be a factor.
Yeah, definitely.
2, the Stamps kept pace with the Grey Cup champions, so don't despair too much,
Yeah.
GT. 3, people said they didn't like this, but I liked that Lapo wore his Western gear. It's
Yeah.
almost Stampede time in Calgary, and he fit right in.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
thought he looked
He
good.
did.
He looked good.
He looked relaxed in it. It looked like he wasn't just showing it off. He looked relaxed in it. So there you go.
It's getting ready for Stampede Bowl.
Yes. The other thing that I quite liked about this game is I mentioned the fumble in the Edmonton game, that it was awful hard to tell if that was the right call or not. I can't say it was or wasn't. Well, this game I think it was within the overtime. There was a play where Evans comes around the end for Saskatchewan and takes a swat at VA's hand, and the ball comes out, and either he swatted it out as VA was getting ready to throw, or VA was throwing and he hit it from behind and it made the ball just slam into the ground. There were looks from either angle that would say, yes, that's obviously an incomplete pass, or yeah, maybe it's not. But it was inconclusive again. The replay center didn't do anything stupid. They went with the call on the field, which was an incomplete pass. And I thought, that's great. Don't overturn the game with a call that's you can't tell. And then we get in further into the overtime, and on the last drive where Saskatchewan finally goes down and scores, there's a critical throw to Del Duncan Busby on about the 11-yard line where he catches it in bounds, but as he's going out of bounds, maybe the ball moves a little bit. And again, you can't tell. Are his hands under it? Did it get to the ground? And it's possible it wasn't a catch, but it was ruled a catch. And again, it stood. So I thought that was interesting that in really tight games, the 3 times the replay center said, we're not going to do anything to affect this game without more evidence than that. And I think that's a great sign. Unless we know absolutely for sure, I would much rather see the call on the field stand. And that's just me. So
Yeah,
and
no, I
I-
agree with you. I agree with you in principle on that. The fact that, as they said on the broadcast, there's no clear, what do they call it, overwhelming evidence or whatever the case may be, so that concise and overwhelming, whatever the terminology. And I agree on all 3 of those plays that there was. I disagree on that again. I thought first of all, I didn't think he was in bounds necessarily, and secondly, he did bobble the ball enough. But did he bobble it enough to not have it, or was his hand still underneath of it? It was kind of hard to tell. So it wasn't, I wasn't freaking out about that one too much. And I thought Montreal's was more egregious than that one. I thought for sure Beauchemin had his hands under that ball in the Montreal game, much more so than I thought that Busby was inbound. So there you go.
With all of them, I didn't see enough to tell. And it was like there's 4 teams involved, 3 plays, and 3 of the teams benefited from the play. So it wasn't like the refs were calling it one way for one team and not for the others.
Mm-hmm.
I liked it. I like them, let them play the game and just keep that uncertain element a little bit in it. I think that's part of the appeal of football to me. Okay. I got one other point and nothing else after that. So MJ, just to be sure, you're okay now? Good.
Wind was a factor.
There we go. Yes, it was. Yes. And my last point is I found out this weekend that not only am I a Saskatchewan fan, but so is my phone. And this may not matter to anyone but me, but I'm going to mention it anyway, because I use my phone to take voice notes. So after every time that there's a score, one of the things I do is I give the score. I pick up the phone and I go, okay, Calgary 10, Saskatchewan 14 or whatever. And I don't know why, but every time no other team but Saskatchewan, it always adds an extra 1 to it for me. So Saskatchewan is always 114 or 120 or 135.
Well,
I've worn it down. It's become a fan like me. Moving on from there, power rankings time. What do we got for power rankings, GT?
GT, these are so popular on Instagram. I can't wait to see these this week.
Well, but are we getting arguments? Are we getting legitimate arguments, or are we just getting yes and no?
I feel like people are like arguing about it in private. No one's going to say it to your face.
All righty. Well, this week's power rankings, according to me and only me, so that if you are angry, do not be angry at Old Man and MJ. These are mine. Saskatchewan remains undefeated, and they're still the champions, so they are still number one. Hamilton, after that game, they have to be at number two. I am going to put Edmonton above Montreal simply because they won that game. So I will put, and they're two. Montreal is now 2-1. So Edmonton, then Montreal, then Toronto, because of the number of points they've scored in both games. Then Winnipeg, because they're still at least have one, and then Calgary, BC, and Ottawa. And that because, and I had originally BC Calgary, but I changed it just because we're now getting into the point of the season. We're 3 games in, or 3 weeks in at least, where we're now talking about the season as such. And I think that we can make some conclusions about the teams rather than just rely on last year's standing and sort of a gut. Now we're actually seeing where we think these teams are. And based on BC's receiving issues, I move them down and put them, below Calgary. That's the only reason. But that's the reason I did it. So if you're wondering. And then Ottawa, because Ottawa's Ottawa.
Okay.
That's the power rankings for this week.
Yeah. All right. And good stuff. So before we go into our predictions, I will tell you the injury reports as I've seen them so far here. There's the last game, there's not even they haven't even practiced yet, the Montreal-Ottawa one. But in Edmonton and the Bombers, Anderson did not participate and has been ruled out for Edmonton. And Robustelli did not participate, but he hasn't been in yet, and he's ruled out. So Anderson could make a difference. Is it Morganson, I think, is their backup there? He played well last year, but against the running team, against a possible running team, we don't know with Mr. Kundell there, but a team that can run like Winnipeg, having your Mac back out could matter. And the Bombers really had nobody of any particular point there. Okay, and then the rest of these, Saskatchewan, there's a laundry list, but it's their first day at practice, so I don't know how much to read into this. But in the did not participate category, there was Del Duncan Busby, Joanne Hughes, who was the starter at the one side halfback, and I don't think he'll be back in. There's also Nelson Lacombo, AJ Ouellette, and James Waters all did not participate. And then Keyshawn Johnson was limited, and Benoit Marion on the D-line, who hasn't been in yet, was limited, so maybe he's coming back. And Toronto had Dwayne Hendricks is still limited. Ethan John did not participate. Priester did not participate, and Kevin Meitel was limited. The last game that we have any for is Calgary at BC here in Kelowna. Adrian Green did not participate. Christy Naku on the O-line. Is he a starter, GT? I'm not sure.
Yes, he is. Yep. Starting left guard, right guard, okay. Right guard, I think.
Okay, yeah. So he did not participate. Jalen Philpott did not participate. And that was basically the names you'd recognize there. And then with the BC Lions, Hatcher was limited. McInnes did not participate. Poissant did not participate. And Patrice Rene was still on the did not participate. So don't know if we'll see Hatcher. And I think I heard someone say that they've already said that McInnes probably won't go. Was it you that mentioned that, GT?
Yeah, I thought I read that somewhere today that McInnes is ruled out for this week.
Okay, yeah. So there could be some interesting games. Let's talk about what's going to happen. Edmonton going into Winnipeg. The linebacker bit scares me, and the fact that Winnipeg does bounce back well and they've had a full week of practice to prepare scares me, but I'm going to go with Edmonton. I think they're getting it together. How about you, MJ?
So the Elks are coming off a win against, arguably what everyone would assume is the top team in the East. The Bomber, I don't know, because the first game they used Brady a ton, and in the second game they didn't use him. So what's this third game going to be? What's going on in that quarterback room? Who's doing short yardage? Are they carrying 4 quarterbacks this weekend? Where is it in? Winnipeg? You know what? I think I'm gonna go Bombers. I think that I think they're gonna have more trouble with the Bomber defense than they did with the Alouettes defense.
Okay, so GT, you get to decide where the show goes with our picks.
Yeah, this one, I don't think Edmonton's offense is that great. Again, as outside, they haven't done much. The receiving core hasn't looked terrific. If you can contain Cody, you're all right. And then it comes down to Rankin, and it's all about Rankin and their offense. That's basically it. Their defense is playing relatively well. I thought Trey Ford did a pretty good job on Philpott the other. He seemed to be covering him man on man for most of that game last week. So I think their defense looks okay. Yeah, Winnipeg has been. Yeah, I'm going Bombers. I'm going Bombers in a low-scoring, not great game. Is how I kind of expected.
Agree.
Okay, so I'm overruled again. I will point out that the show last week went 1-3, and someone on the show went 3-1. But not that should influence anyone's picks.
Hey man, that was a turnover in OT.
All right, moving on. Toronto at Saskatchewan. MJ, why didn't? You didn't start. I started. So why didn't you tell us your thoughts?
Argos suck. This is going to be a Riders win.
Okay, I always pick Saskatchewan when in doubt, but these games scare me, especially like the Riders should be able to contain Kelly a lot better than he has been so far. But if they've got at least one new starter in that secondary, and there's any busts in coverage and in communication, it could get ugly. But I will still go with Saskatchewan.
Redblacks kept him in check until they got too tired too.
Yeah,
so I mean,
he likes the long ball, and as long as you take that away from him, you're okay. So that's the only thing that scares me. But you, GT, is it unanimous, or are you taking Toronto?
No, I'm going Riders. This is Toronto's home game in Saskatchewan, right?
Yes. Toronto's the home team. So the Riders are wearing their new Prairie Blizzard.
Right.
Those are
whatever
ugly.
That conglomeration is.
This is my sidebar. If you're going to make a Prairie Blizzard uniform, do not have a green helmet.
Yeah.
There's no green in a blizzard.
No.
Moving on.
I'm sorry. I feel like they hired someone's 5-year-old to design that for them. Anyway.
They'll sell a ton of them, I'm sure.
I know. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how ugly these uniforms are because Rider fans will buy them.
Yes.
It doesn't matter. They don't even have to try.
Well, and apparently the kids will buy them all day because the kids love this all white look.
It's not all white. It's not.
No, but it's close enough for the kids.
No, it's not because the
You're
helmet
not paying
is
attention.
Not,
this is what the CFL is harping on. The kids. It's all about the kids in all white.
It's not all white.
So
you just made everyone mad now, except for Rider fans who will still buy it.
Green on the sleeves, on the underside of the sleeves, and a green outline of numbers that the broadcast crews will all be complaining about again too. Yeah, so they can't read them at all.
My question was going to be: will the broadcast crew be all wearing one on whenever night that game is?
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, they did that with Ottawa, didn't they?
Yes.
Well, 3 of them anyway. But moving along, Calgary at BC. So this is a BC home game, and it is in BC, but it's in, well, not my hometown, but the larger city near me, Kelowna. The Apple Bowl is a small facility that they have added a bunch of seating to get up to 20,000. It is a fantastic field. It is very nice. You'll be right close to the players, so it should be fantastic. However, they're saying the weather is going to be in the low 30s until Thursday, and then it's going to take a dip and start driving down and rain Thursday and rain Friday, and 60% chance of rain on Saturday, and not cold like a high of 20, but damp and very soggy on a natural grass field, which could make a big difference. If you're a speed guy, it could make a big difference in an awful lot of stuff. I think that it may turn to be a ground game, and strangely enough, I wouldn't have said this, I don't think, any year before this, but the way that the first of the season has started out, and considering what their defense is, a ground game might be the best hope for BC. So we'll see. And then, of course, the other thing against Mills, yes, but
good luck.
Mills has been great in 2 halves of 2 games, and then they haven't been able to move him so much in second half against Winnipeg, and in the first half against Saskatchewan, it wasn't so good. And then they got him up and going in the second half, which I like because he got me lots of points. However, you've also got the fact that Butler's a pretty good running game. And frankly, to me, if they can't throw the ball in the weather, that's a plus for BC because their defensive secondary is not good. And against the run so far, they haven't been giving up a lot of yards. They've averaged, I think, 70 yards a game they've given up on the ground, which isn't bad at all. So we'll see. And then, of course, the other thing is if it is like that and the field really gets torn up, can they repair it for the game against Edmonton a week later? But that's neither here nor there. You haven't gone first yet, GT. Who have you got in this one?
I'm taking Calgary. I just can't see Edmonton or BC having enough. And their defense is very suspect. So no matter what the weather's like, I think Calgary at this point in time is a better team. Going into this, I think Calgary's a better team. So I'm taking.
Okay, MJ.
All right. So BC has no offense. They have no defense, and their punter is their top special teams tackler. The Stamps kept up with the Riders. It went to double overtime. That's not nothing. I know you come away with no points, but it's not nothing. I'm going to take the Stamps.
Mm-hmm.
One of these teams is going to be 0-3, and it's going to be the one with no receivers.
Yes. I don't know why something in the back of my head keeps yelling, take BC, but I can't. It's not logical. At some point, as much as you go with your gut, you've got to follow some of the logic. Yeah. And BC is undermanned as they are. And I don't know what they're going to do about that defensive backfield. It's just, so yeah,
Okay.
we're all on Calgary, all on Saskatchewan, all on Calgary. I'm all alone on Edmonton. And then the last one, Ottawa at Montreal. No injury reports. We know there's a new quarterback in Ottawa. There's possibly a second new quarterback coming into Ottawa who, if he gets into the game, he used to play for Montreal, so maybe he knows how. I can't even pump it up. I can't. I'm trying to find a way to make this sound like.
Do we even need to go through this, or can I just write down Alouettes and we can just move on?
Yeah.
For everyone? Yeah. All right. I'm writing it down.
Times 3.
All right. Maybe McLeod, Bethel, Thompson dazzles and return to CFL.
Yeah.
All those camps. He's been learning some skill, keeping those skills sharp at his camps.
That is true. And he knows the Dinwiddie offense.
Oh, he knows the Montreal defense.
Yeah. So, hey.
Yeah, he has all that.
Is he going to be the short yardage guy? What's happening here?
I don't know.
I'm sorry, Redblack fans. I'm so sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, because it's either McLeod, Bethel, Thompson, or a guy that you signed on Monday, and then all of a sudden on Saturday or whatever, he's going to be your short yardage in crucial situations.
Or it's going to be like some fullback or Greg Bell or I don't know what.
Well, don't forget, they don't go for quarterback sneaks. They go for out of the shotgun for all the short yardage based on what we've seen so far this season.
Yeah, because they have no one to do short yardage.
Yeah. Duggan fumbled that first one in the rain, and I don't think they've gone under center for short yardage since then. So you don't need a short yardage quarterback.
Oh, yes, the record is definitely showing that. Definitely.
We're getting snarky. We are, and it's getting late. So we're going to get out of here. MJ, any closing thoughts? Any social media?
Yes.
Just going to say goodbye as happened with one of us last week?
No, because
you didn't like that?
I liked it.
I was.
I was going to say something and I'm not. By the time you watch this, Team Canada will have played Switzerland, and I hope that we all are celebrating a win tomorrow in FIFA. So go Canada. You can find me. I'm running the Instagram account. We're getting some really good comments and views on there, so that's awesome. And you can find me. Counts aren't playing. Will I even be on Blue Sky? I will. Sports and Plants. Follow me for play-by-plays of the games.
Thank you. And thank you for reminding me again. I missed that off the rundown too. Our World Cup report. This week's update. Most of
Canada
us
won
don't care.
6-0, but one
Nope,
of the top
most of us
players
don't
broke
care.
his leg. So
This week's update, most of us don't care.
lots of people are care. You guys are such Debbie Downers.
Within this little circle here. See, you're trying to sneak information in this report, and that's not what it's about.
He had surgery on his leg.
Okay, GT.
All right. As always, you can find me on Blue Sky at GT Bar, and that's about it. And whatever MJ is able to post onto the Instagram account. And thank you for all of your feedback, and we'll see you next.
Okay, that sounds great. And I, of course, am Old Man Shouting at Clouds on Old Man -SAC on Blue Sky there. Old Man Shouting Cloud on the CFL Reddit, and the show is on just about everywhere as the CFL Outsiders. If you look at social media out there, you'll probably find us. Other than that, thanks for watching. We're getting a steady climb of interested viewers or listeners. Our subscriber and follower list is climbing every week, which is really kind of nice to see. It's good to know we're not just shouting into the void. So please, if you're enjoying this and you haven't subscribed yet, subscribe, turn on your notifications, as they say, and drop a comment. See if you picked out the lyrics from this week at all. Hit a like button on the podcatchers. Leave us a rating and a review, a nice 5-star thing, all that stuff that we beg for, because it's helping and more people are seeing us, and that makes us happy and hopefully the other people happy too. So that's about all, though. For until next week, for GT and MJ, this is Old Man saying, get the hell off my lawn.